Good morning, everyone. Today it's Monday, October 26th, the 8th day of Mar Cheshvan. I hope everyone had a wonderful Shabbos as we are now back to school, back to work. And Baruch Hashem, thank God, most of our kids are indeed back in school. We had an incredible Shabbos here. We had the first in a series of Baruch Hashem, many bar mitzvahs. And we had a bar mitzvah this morning. Mazal tov to James Langman. We're going to hear more about him tomorrow. And Mazal tov to the Grad family. Jenny's getting married tonight. Mazal tov Jenny getting married to Rabbi Moshe Ganak. So Raz, Michael, Mazal tov, continue the Simcha Nachas train going. And a lot of things that are taking place. Thank God, very good things. And I wanted to share our Dvar Torah today in honor of this past weekend Simcha. Again, we're still learning and navigating and trying to figure out our way about how do we do these sort of COVID bar mitzvahs. And often I have said that sometimes at the simchas that we have a little too much bar and not enough mitzvah. And I think that what COVID has taught us is how to focus really on the mitzvah part. And Shayne did an absolutely outstanding job. He davened Shachris. He laned the entire parsha, 159 psukim of Parshas Noach. He did the Haftorah. He gave it Dvar Torah. He did Musaf. He really earned his keep, so to say, on this past Shabbos. And I could see the nachas beaming from his parents. So Sharon and Lauren, you should be really proud of Shayne, but really give yourselves a pat on the back, because not only how you raised him and to be such a conscientious and thoughtful and smart, wise young man, but also how you've dealt with these new realities. And though the Simcha probably was not what any of us had envisioned, it was no less special, it was no less meaningful. In fact, I might argue it was probably more meaningful because we were able to focus on the mitzvah, and mitzvah it was. It was really something. So, Shayne, this is for you, and really Lauren, Sharon, the entire family, and yeah, we could throw Noah in there too. I didn't recognize at first because he got a haircut, which I couldn't believe. But this Dvar Torah in honor of your Simcha, and you should keep the Simcha going for as long as possible. You read the story of Noach, and you actually spoke quite passionately about Noach and about the environment. And we all know about your passion for the environment and climate change, Shayne. And there was a famous saying that was attributed to King Louis of France, King Louis XV of France, which is après moi le déluge. And my French is awful, I know. And that's really a tribute to Lauren from French Canada. I hope that we don't insult too many of your relatives by doing that. But he would say, and this was an expression which is actually borrowed from our story of our parsha after the deluge, after the flood, but what happens? But here, his phrase, King Louis was, after me, they're going to have the phrase. Like, when I'm gone, everything's going to be horrible. Everything's going to fall apart. Well, first of all, nobody should think that he is too indispensable, that when you're gone, that nothing's going to function. We often think that, when we lose this person, when somebody's gone, we're never going to be able to carry on. But that's not, it rarely is the case. We find a way. But if I could rephrase that, we say, après deluge, after the flood, then what happens? And that's really the story of the parsha that you read, Shayne. What is somebody going to do after the flood? What do you do when you see everything around you fall apart and you see humanity destroyed and you have to start over? What are you going to do? We saw how Noah carried himself. We saw his family. We saw rebuild the world. And we saw that it started again with trouble. And then, as you mentioned in your Dvar Torah, that we have to start again, almost, so to say, with Avraham Avinu. But I think as this relates to a bar mitzvah, you might, if I could be a little bit cute about it, you say after the deluge. In other words, after all the year of studying and practicing, and did you practice, and did you practice, did you practice? And, when it comes to bar mitzvah boys and practicing their parsha and their Dvar Torah and their davening, it's probably not their most favorite thing to do. And we're always asking, did you study, did you study, did you practice? And when I teach boys, I don't have to ask, I could tell right away whether or not they practiced. But after all that preparation, and it really goes for the parents as well, and after all the planning and the invites and then the changing and the evites, and I could do this and I can't do that, and I have to change this, I have to change that, especially this year. And it's like we can now take a big deep breath. It's over. Like, we can breathe now. The flood is over. But then we have to ask ourselves the question, so now what? after the deluge, after the flood, and in this case, Baruch Hashem, the flood of a simcha, and all the planning for a simcha, and all the preparation, and the studying, and the learning, and the understanding of what a bar mitzvah means, the question is, now what? What are you going to do? Now, Shayne, I know that you're a young man who's already been coming to shul quite a bit. And as I mentioned on Shabbos, that as a Levi, you receive many, many aliyos. And I would love to see you receiving many, many more aliyos, many more times coming to shul, because you're that type of individual that recognizes that the bar mitzvah was just a day in your life. It was a meaningful day. It was an important benchmark in your life, but it was not the definition of your life. You'll define your life by how you carry yourself after this flood of excitement, after this flood of enjoyment, after this flood of simcha. You will, no doubt, be a tremendous source of nachas. You will be an inspiration to all of us, not only with your activism, but also with your dedication to your tradition and to your Judaism, which is something we don't take lightly in your family, in our family, and in our community. So, Sharon and Lauren, again, I hope you soak in all the nachas, and you should really, really be super proud. We're so proud that we were able to share this simcha with you, and also that you were able to make it meaningful even for those who couldn't be here. And you know what I mean, with your website that you created and the content that you created, so that everybody who wasn't here would be able to actually experience a little bit of Shayne. Because indeed he is really a Zer Shayne, as they would say. So I know that after this flood, whether it's a flood of destruction, whether it's a flood of simcha, a flood of emotions, a flood of accomplishment, I know that there's so much more to be done. And Shayne, I know that you're equal to the task, and I look forward to watching you grow and live up to your capability as a young man in Klal Yisrael. Mazal tov. Thank you again for sharing your simcha, and have a great day.